War of the Worlds, the latest Ice Cube movie to hit Amazon Prime Video, and is a remake of the 2005 Tom Cruise movie of the same title. In this movie, we follow Will Radford, played by Ice Cube, who is a Department of Home Security tech in charge of watching over the country for national threats through street cameras, satellites, phones, you name it. When an alien invasion takes place, he is tasked with supplying the government with intel about the threat, while doing what he can to keep his own family safe. That, folks, is pretty much the general overall story that is being followed here in this movie. And I don't really know what we got here. And before we get right into it, let me just let you know, I never saw that Tom Cruise movie. Honestly, I didn't even know about that version until this version dropped. But a whole bunch of discussion on social media came out about this movie, and it piqued my interest, especially it being Ice Cube. I am a huge fan of Ice Cube, whether it be music or the movies that he's done. So when I seen that he had a new movie out, I needed to go check it out. Not to mention that, but I also needed to see why the hell this movie had 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll tell you, I looked at that and I could not be more shocked. There was no way that this movie was getting a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? And not to mention, this was a conspiracy kind of film. I will be honest though, I was not expecting the alien invasion element to be a part of this film. I thought it was just gonna strictly kind of be governmental conspiracy theory type of movie, which it is. But unfortunately, truth be told, after watching this movie, I understand why it didn't do so well with audiences, but I had a good time with it. Let me start you off with some of the things that I did not like, or I think did not work well for this movie. Starting out with the simple fact that this is a weird movie. The way that this movie is shot, it's like we are looking into a laptop the entire time, with video calls, FaceTime calls, and Zoom, the camera footage of the destruction, like popping up as if it was a pop-up on your laptop. And I honestly think that that did a disservice to the performances. Now, don't get me wrong, while I think that Ice Cube is a decent actor and has had many great roles, here it was incredibly noticeable that the movie was just a bunch of people talking into the camera with nobody else in front of them and nobody to work off of. And for me personally, that made the movie feel really awkward, because some of the responses that were given to these situations or these phone calls or video calls, it really didn't fit the tone of the situation that was happening. I mean, there were times when Ice Cube was reacting to things that his kids were doing, being in distress and trying to escape this chaotic rubble that the city is now turned into. But I'm not gonna lie to you, the reactions that Ice Cube gave to these kind of events and some of the choices in dialogue that he was given, it was actually making me laugh. And I wasn't helping, because I'm not gonna lie to you, some of the things that were happening is not something that you should have been laughing at, but I couldn't help it. Additionally, it is no secret that this movie has horrible CGI and visual effects quality. They made a lot of these alien ships look like they were part of an Xbox 360 video game. It made the movie feel very low budget, which apparently it did. I mean, Ice Cube was reportedly paid $3 to $5 million for this role, and they didn't specify what the budget of the movie was, but it was pretty obvious that it wasn't anywhere near the original $132 million budget that the 2005 movie had. And kind of because of visuals, it did take me out of the moment quite a few times, where I was more focused on the quality of these alien ships than I was the story of the movie and what was happening, which did not help the fact that there really weren't a lot of great performances amongst the cast across the board. Now, true, I feel like that kind of goes back to the way that the movie was shot. You can tell that this was a lot of remote work for the actors, but a lot of these moments and these conversations that were being had via FaceTime or Zoom call felt really awkward, sometimes overacted or even underacted in a few moments. And I mean, I think that that speaks to just the fact that everybody was probably by themselves when they were filming their scenes and not having anybody to organically work off of and feed off of in these heavy emotional moments. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you've seen the movie, you know none of the tones fit the situation at all. Bringing me kind of to my last point is really the writing of the movie. I feel like the dialogue here had a lot of very corny lines, unfortunately delivered mostly by Ice Cube. I mean, some of the lines were straight rips from popular rap songs that honestly are more relevant to the time of the Tom Cruise movie than they are to this one. And while normally something like that wouldn't bug me, especially with Ice Cube being the one to deliver some of these lines, with the acting itself not really being up to par, it made those lines stick out way more than they normally would have. And I just found myself kind of rolling my eyes at them. So I found that to be kind of unfortunate, man, because I in a weird way was rooting for this movie. But there are some positives about it, at least personally, that I found myself interested in. And I think that my biggest positive, kind of the saving grace, if you will, for this movie, at least for me, was the concept and the story of it all. As somebody who really enjoys, the conspiracy theory talk and that kind of conversation, this movie scratched an itch that I didn't know I wanted scratched. Because, we deal with aliens and the secrets that are kept to protect that kind of information. We deal with government interference, so both the data and the tracking that they do on us and our technology, but also the what if factor on whether they know that aliens exist or not, and just blowing smoke up our ass, maybe not telling us things that they have discovered in years past. Even this main antagonist or side antagonist, however you really want to look at them, but this group that is sort of like the anonymous for this movie, who is the one trying to expose the government and give the people the truth and tell them that the government has been hiding all of this information for decades. These are all conversations that get widely looked upon as crazy or maybe a bit taboo, but shockingly, I think that this movie tackled that really well, and it definitely does take its own position. It has something to say, very specific in its opinion, but it is an interesting what if type of conversation to have, because let's face it, this world that we live in, these topics of conversation, they really aren't that crazy. And I just found it really interesting that this movie touches on a lot of those conversations. So I do think that part of the movie is done well enough, and it kept me interested enough where I wanted to see where it was going, what was happening, and how it was going to end. Unfortunately though, I don't think that the story element in this film is enough to save it. I will probably never watch this movie again, but overall, I think that War of the Worlds does have a lot to say. It has an interesting concept behind it, but it fails to execute it in an interesting way, in a satisfying way. The performances here in this movie were meant to feel a little bland, with visual effects that feel more fitting for a 2010 video game cutscene. This is a movie I feel like if you are into these kind of conversations, these kind of in-hat conspiracy theory kind of conversations, you might be able to get some enjoyment out of the overall story. But like me, this will probably be something that you only ever watch one time in your life. It's not gonna, well, it shouldn't be the movie to motivate you to get a Prime membership if you don't already have one. And if you do have one, like I said, it's probably gonna be a one-time watch if you get through the whole thing. I admit I was a bit let down with this one, man. I was excited to watch this movie. I was interested in it, man, when it dropped, and then the discourse around it of how bad that people were saying that it was actually made me want to watch the movie even more, because like I said, I just couldn't believe that it would be that bad on Rotten Tomatoes. 4%, man. But at the end of the day, after watching it, I totally get it. I understand. But that is where I'm going to leave it to you guys, man. That's all I got for War of the Worlds. I appreciate you if you stayed to the end of this video. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button so we can try and get this video fleshed out to more people. Also, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you don't miss any of the future content that is being put out and drops on the channel. I took a little bit of a break these last couple weeks, but we are back full-fledged. Been a while, 2 weeks, but we are back in action. That is where I'm gonna leave it, man. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of War of the Worlds if you did go and see it, man. But I'm going to leave it there. Y'all stay geeked. I'm out, and be smooth.